I swam the 100 backstroke in the morning and went 100 flat 01. That evening I came back to finals and broke a minute for the first time in lane 8 of Logic Pool. At that time, this was the most important milestone I had broken in swimming, and that's the moment in which I fell in love with Harvard. And after that, when people asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, I would say be a doctor, go to Harvard, and then go abroad on a Rhodes Scholarship like Bill Clinton. I don't really know what the last part was about, but I made it to Harvard, barely, which brings me to a piece of advice. Don't cancel your Harvard recruiting trip. It generally sends the coaches the wrong message. As a senior in high school, I was running and swimming, and I decided that making it to a cross-country meet and my Harvard recruiting trip in the same weekend was going to be too much, so I took the natural choice and canceled my recruiting trip. Fortunately, the stars aligned, and I made it in, which means I can now laugh over the experience rather than slap myself. So now, 4 years later, I'm about to leave. College is a growing experience. Age-wise, you come in as a child, and you leave it as an adult. Maturity-wise, the progression is very similar. Being a member of HWSD is a unique experience, and while you learn an incredible amount in your swimming while here, what you take away has very little to do with the actual sport. College is supposed to prepare you intellectually for real life, but where I learned the most about myself was from my time in the pool. It is impossible to summarize 4 years of HWSD in one speech, but 4 experiences from 4 different years as a member of this team exemplify the personal discoveries that have prepared me best for my life after Harvard. It starts with freshman year. When I look back at my freshman year, it's somewhat of a blur. I was in awe of the school and everything that was available to me, and I wanted to experience it all. They always say there are 3 things that college has to offer: school, sports, and social. You can really only pick 2 to fully commit to, but my freshman year I chose all 3. You can fake it for a long time, but by ECAC's my freshman year, I was exhausted, and I had an absolutely miserable meet. The low point came when I added 7 seconds to my 200 IM and felt like I had thrown away an entire year of training. This realization became all too real when Steph sat me down in our end-of-season meeting and reminded me that I only had 3 years left to swim. If I wanted to make the most of my remaining time, I needed to make adjustments, and I realized it started with my sleep habits. If there's one thing freshman year taught me, it's that sleep is the #1 priority. You can't expect to perform well on a Monday morning long course threshold set on 4 or less hours of sleep. You would never drive your car on empty, yet somehow we justify practice after an all-nighter by saying, I can nap. That doesn't cut it. So going into sophomore year, I made one easy change: sleep. A 10 o'clock bedtime and 8 full hours of sleep before morning workouts. It was an adjustment, and it meant being more organized, but I am a much happier person when I am rested, and as Steph always says, happy swimmers are fast swimmers. I made the decision that I would prioritize school and swimming in my college life, and once I made that decision, it became infinitely easier to improve in both areas. Which brings me to sophomore year. To say sophomore year was an improvement is a huge understatement. I was far more grounded, far more settled, and it showed in my swimming. A few days after H5P my sophomore year, my second Harvard swim season almost complete, I was taking a little extra time and warmed up. Most people were already out of the pool and in the locker room, but Steph was still on the pool deck. When I stopped at the wall, Steph was sitting on the block and doing that scary thing where she's like peering over into your lane. I remember looking up and being like, yes. Every kid knows that feeling when your mom yells up to you from downstairs, Caroline, can you come here for a second? And the first response is not, oh yeah, sure, Mom, I'll be right down. It's 1, why? And 2, am I in trouble? So as Steph's like peering down at me, I'm thinking, oh God, I'm in trouble. But she continues. She says, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm telling you now because I know that you tend to get excited, and I want to give you some time to let it sink in before I make an announcement. Meanwhile, in my head, I have like no idea what she's talking about. I'm just like, okay, smile at that. I really hope I'm not in trouble. And instead of delivering bad news, Steph says, don't say anything to anyone yet, but I'm going to put you on the IB team. I think I momentarily blacked out at that point, and I remember just kind of like slipping down into the water and screaming as loud as I could. And I come back up, and Steph's like, it's okay to be a little bit excited. I'm like, no, it's cool. It's good. Meanwhile, I'm like peeing my pants in the water. So that was a very memorable experience for me. And what's interesting is that while IBs were at Princeton that year, I don't really remember much from the actual meet. I will never forget the feeling I had before the 200 IM, however. I was swimming at finals, and I was in the end lane closest to our side of the pool. I looked over and saw all of my teammates cheering for me on the pool deck, and I was completely overwhelmed with pride. I stepped on the blocks, the most confident I had ever been for a race. Swimming for Harvard liberated me from my my nerves. I used to be a puking wreck before every swim meet, but when I came to Harvard, the personal pressure was lifted, and I no longer had to worry about time. I simply had to swim for my teammates. Because they believed in me, I could then believe in myself. And thus I learned to focus on the bigger picture. When you do something for a greater cause, something other than yourself, success comes easier. Personal motivation and personal pressure are very different. And for me, personal pressure is toxic. But if I can find a bigger cause to motivate me, I can liberate myself from the oppressive expectations and reach my greater potential. My junior year, we won Ivies. I have never felt that level of euphoria in my life, and I suspect it will be a long time, if ever, before I replicate the type of excitement and joy that comes along with being part of an Ivy championship winning team. But my learning experience didn't come from winning. We rarely learn from our successes. The most important lesson from my junior year came that summer. A group of us were attempting to qualify for Olympic trials. The day after Ivies, we had our first time trial, and from that point out, we trained and raced relentlessly. The group was smaller than HWSD as a whole, and we were incredibly invested in each other's performances. As hard as everyone worked, when we came down to our last chance meet, we had yet to pick up any additional cut times. It was beginning to revert back to pre-Harvard swimming anxiety for me. This was my ultimate end-of-swimming career goal, to attend Olympic trials, and I was this close to failing. Catherine Zagrova was a graduated senior and attempting to qualify in the 400 freestyle after her collegiate swimming career was over. Ziggy had been a constant mentor in my life, and I had always looked up to her during our time together on the team. Like me, she was time trialing for her last chance to qualify, and she was in the heat before me. She dove in, and she was on it from the start. We were all going crazy on the side of the pool. When she hit the wall, she was just under the cut time, and there was just pure joy all over her face. I immediately burst into tears, as I obviously am now. I was still crying when the starter said, "Take your mark for my race." I didn't qualify for trials. I missed it by about a tenth or two, but while I was upset at the time, what I remember about the experience now is that Ziggy made it. Her success feels like my success. When you train in a tight-knit group, you adopt other people's goals as your own. What that experience taught me was to truly celebrate the accomplishments of your peers. You can't be resentful or overly competitive, because that mentality is poisonous. Find excitement in the accomplishments of others and be inspired. Steph always says, honor your teammates with your effort and inspire them with your races. We are at our best as a team, and I'm at my best as a person when I'm being supportive and appreciative of those around me. We are all driven women, and it's easy to become too self-centered. This past year was a roller coaster. As a senior, you will find yourself spontaneously bursting into tears at random, seemingly unimportant moments in your day. I've cried in 3 different lecture courses, one time from a clip from Disney's Peter Pan. I've shut enough tears in blush pool to cut down on chlorination costs, and I've pretty much cut mascara out of my makeup routine. Senior year makes you nostalgic, and it's driven by everything that you have invested in the team and sport. For all of us here, our life identity has been as a swimmer. We live and breathe swimming. I mean, when's the last time you've gone on a family vacation without having to worry about where the pool is? Senior year hits you smack in the face with everything that's about to come to a close. But it's also a time of liberation. Just like last one, best one gets us going in practice, last one, best one got me through senior year. We always joke about Steph's famous phrase, you can do anything for 30 seconds, and how that phrase has evolved to, you can do anything for a 500 or a mile, or you can do anything for a practice. Well, this may not always be true. Come my senior year, I found that I really could do anything for a season. You are reinvigorated, and there is nothing to lose. I wanted my senior year to be my best, and it was. But what's interesting is that if you told me that a month ago, I wouldn't have agreed. A month ago, if you told me congrats on a good season, I probably would have said what? Congrats on losing. It's easy to be tied up in the tangible outcome of a season, and I went back and forth between viewing the season as a success and as a failure. But now I truly see it as a success. Ex-swimmers always tell you that once you're removed from the sport, it's not the times you remember, but rather the experiences. I think this is somewhat false, because I will always remember breaking 2 minutes in the 200 backstroke at Georgia. But it is also true. I'm not going to remember second place at Ivies this year. Instead, I'm going to remember swimming my last 200 backstroke ever in the A final next to my backpack training partners. I will never forget the emotion and the connection between us as we all went up behind the blocks together. Another thing I will never forget is the time Steph tricked me into doing a full meet warm down after so much to be proud of. I was a dedicated member of HWSD for 4 years, an experience that only the members can truly grasp the magnitude of. It has been a wonderful experience, but after 4 years, I'm ready to move on to the next phase of my life. Senior year was exciting and exhausting. I started the year scared that it was all coming to a rapid end. But now that it's over, I feel ready to leave, and I am excited for the future rather than scared of it. So if there are 4 pieces of advice I can offer from my time on HWSD, it's as follows. 1, sleep. I think Steph will agree with this. Sleep is the most important thing in life. Then comes dessert, and then food. 2, focus on the big picture. Success is easier when you take some of the personal pressure off yourself and work towards a larger goal. 3, don't be too self-centered. Find joy in the accomplishments of others, not just your own. And 4, it truly is how you get there, not where you go. But relax, because honestly, our Harvard degrees will probably get us to where we want to go. Being a member of the Harvard Women's Swimming and Diving team is an incredibly meaningful and unique experience. You will never again be in an environment where you push your body to its physical limits while surrounded by 30 equally talented women with like-minded goals. Varsity swimming at Harvard includes sacrifice, but if you truly enjoy the sport, the sacrifice is worth it, and what swimming will give you far exceeds the physical benefits. Relish the time you have on the team and find something every day to be proud of in your training. Being a member of Harvard Women's Swimming and Diving means joining a legacy of impressive, strong, and inspiring women. We are lucky to have such an opportunity. To Chris, you have been an excellent addition to our program, and you are important in making my senior year a success. Thank you. To Steph, I would like to say thank you for always understanding me. You have been my coach, but more importantly, my mentor. The lessons I have learned from you will follow me through my entire life. You've helped me to grow as a person and have taught me the importance of patience and restraint. Oh. So my family, thank you for your constant support. It has taken me until now to realize just how fortunate I am to have parents and sisters that provide unconditional love and encouragement. This is not the case for everyone, and I know I would not have encountered so much success at this point in my life without all of you. Thank you for everything you give and continue to give me. To HWSD, thank you to all of the current and past members who have influenced me during my 4 years as a member of this special team. I am honored to be able to now call myself an alum